Hi, welcome to History. So last week we did our introduction to the Vikings and where they came from. So hopefully you did find out that the Vikings, the vicious Vikings as they're often known, came from Scandinavia. And Scandinavia was made up of 3 countries. Hopefully, if I count on my fingers, 1, 2, 3, you'll be able to shout out to me what those 3 countries are. So they were... That feels really weird when no one's actually saying anything back to me, but hopefully you were saying Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. And those 3 countries make up Scandinavia. This week, we're going to think about how the Vikings got from Scandinavia to all the countries that they traveled to, but in particular, how they got to Britain. And they actually traveled in what was called longboats, longships, longboats. And so we're going to look at the actual ships in a bit more detail, because they were very different to any of the boats that were around at the time. How they were made, the design, what the design meant that the boats could do, because as the name suggests, they were long. And they were narrow, and it meant that they could actually sail in shallow waters. They could travel up rivers as well as the seas. It meant that the Viking warriors could jump out at the very last minute and take their enemies by surprise, which was something that had never happened before. So it was really new and exciting. If you think of the Romans that came before them, they were traveling in big, big ships, and they had to get out quite far back in the sea and travel in smaller ships, smaller boats. So anybody on the land could see when the Romans were invading and knew that they were coming. But now the Vikings, as they were coming, they were traveling in these long, narrow ships with these fierce creatures on the prow, really terrifying things coming out of the mist. People didn't know what to think. They didn't know who these beasts were. So I've got for you on Shobi, there's a list of, well, there's a video clip to watch. It's very short. Hopefully you've already watched the recap video, just to give you an introduction about Scandinavia and things. So you can watch that one first. There's another little video clip which tells you about the longships and how they were made. And it shows a mock-up one, which is really cool to look at. Then your task for today, there's a couple of things to look at, which will give you a bit of information. One of them looks like this. It's got 2 pages. That's the first page. And the second page is actually a Viking longship with some labels on it. Now, your task today is to draw your own Viking longship. So you'll need to read some of this information. Use a highlighter if you want to pick out some keywords. But it talks about the speed, the appearance, and what it was made from, the power. In your books or on a piece of paper, if you do it on a plain piece of paper, do stick it into your books because I really want to see them. I want you to draw your own longship and label it. And that's what the second piece of paper, the second sheet. So after this one, there's a second page that you can look on Shobi. I want you to label it. After that, there is an option to look at another video. Jamie, one for you, because it is Neil Oliver. His amazing long hair looks a bit like a Viking himself. If you want to find out a bit more about the longships, there's a video there for you to watch if you've got some time a bit later on if you want to. Anyway, enjoy finding out all about the Vikings and how they travelled. It's really fascinating. I'm looking forward to seeing your creations.